Welcome to So Pretty Workshops again. I wanted to do something real quick with the potted motor singers. There is so much conversation goes on from time to time in the Facebook groups about how do I get the potted motor off. And I get tickled, I say I get tickled, it wasn't funny. Somebody posted a picture sometime back of the two screws that hold the potted motor housing onto the machine. They were all tore up in there. I mean, just looked like somebody had took a hammer and chisel to those screws. And they said, and the caption was, how do I get these screws out? My first impression, or my first inclination, was to comment and say, if you had asked before you tore them up, I could show you the easy way to get them out. They had torn them up so bad that they would be hard to get out without a punch or maybe machine them out. There is a very easy way to get those screws out. Those screws are torqued in there. They have a sealing binding head that binds in the aluminum housing. It will not allow penetrating oil. There were several people, you know, that had commented and suggested PB Blaster and WD-40 and Blue Creeper and all these other things. There are places that those things are good. On a seal, or I mean a binding head screw, they are useless. They are absolutely useless, because what you have is you have that screw head tightened down on there, and it is tightened into the metal. It has created a perfect seal around the screw, so you can put that penetrating oil in there and it will not penetrate. It cannot get in there. It will penetrate in the threads if you get in the inside of the machine, but that ain't the problem. They're not stuck. They're only torqued down. And you know, I will show you here shortly how to do this, but the first thing you need to do is get the right tools and use the right techniques. In one weekend, we tear one of these machines down completely, or basically. We clean everything, we polish everything, everything that's shiny, we polish, clean it, de-rust it, get it put back together, get everything going, everything sewing, rewire if we have to, and time allows in the workshops. And we don't use a drop of penetrating oil on nothing, anything. I'm sorry, not nothing. But we use the right techniques. That's what matters, and the right tools. It takes the right tools. We don't have to have all these other gadgets and our chemicals and all this other stuff. Sewing machine oil is the only lubricant that we use in the workshops. Anyway, I'm going to get off of that. And I'm busy on a Centennial 201, and I thought, well, I'm going to make a video and show how to get this motor off and get it the right way. Very, very simple to get it off. I mean, it is very simple to get off without tearing the screw heads up. So without any more yapping, and let's go to the bench and we'll see what we can do. Alright, as you see, I've got the machine on its nose and I always call it standing it on their head. And I've got a couple of wooden blocks on the under the faceplate to hold the machine setting up pretty straight. And now I will work on the rest of this. Alright, you'd start by loosening the screw right here, of course, and removing this. I've already done that. And once you do that, the hand wheel will come off. I have not done anything under here. I did take this screw loose here. You want to take this screw loose to where you're not, once you get your motor hanging off here and everything, you're not got the weight of the motor hanging on these wires and pulling on this little wire right in here. Alright. At hardware stores, stuff like that, you can get these drill extensions for bits. In my gunsmithing screwdriver set, which if you don't have one of these hollow ground gunsmithing tools, that's what you're going to have to work on a sewing machine. You go to Lowe's and Walmart and all that and buy screwdrivers and stuff, you're going to end up with everything tore all to pieces, like I was referring to earlier. Find the best screwdriver bit in the set of screwdrivers that will fit the screw in there. This is a 1/4 inch box end wrench, come out of an ignition wrench set. You can get these anywhere. Put it down in the screw. Put the wrench over it. Well, I like to turn the wrench over myself because I got my hand down in a different position, which I like better. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my trusty little gunsmithing brass hammer. Everybody that comes to a workshop gets one of these hammers. We'll also sell the hammers. We can probably sell the hammers cheaper than you can get them on Amazon. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the pressure, and you see I'm going to put some pressure on this machine, but on this wrench, but it's not enough to even twist the machine. See if the machine just moved. And what I'm going to do is like I said, I have not done anything to this. I'll tell you what. I'm going to change to a different kind of driver. This one is a little shorter. I get my hand down a little closer. That's all I'm doing. Alright. Now, let's try this again. Whoop, well, I just turned it. I've already shook it enough that it got loose. Alright, let's do the other one. Everybody always says these are so hard to get loose. And if, here we go. There it went. That's all it takes. These screws are put in there with under a certain amount of torque. And if I can get this screw to back out, I'll show you. There we go. Alright. I don't know if you can see it in the video or not, but there's little lines right around here. The reason these lines are there is because this screw has been turned in there, torqued down in there, and it marks the head. That is why penetrating oil is no good. It will not loosen these screws. It will not help. WD-40 and PB Blaster and all that stuff will never get these screws loose. It will never help. This is an aluminum housing. These are steel screws. The steel is turned and tightened down in there to a point to where it is a solid seal. Penetrating oil will not penetrate that sealed joint right there between the screw and the housing. So you can spray it in there till it ponds up in here, and it will not get in there and make this any looser. I'm a guy, so I have the tendency, just like the rest, you know, in case y'all can't tell I'm a guy, I have a tendency, if this doesn't work, then let's get a bigger wrench, this long, or a bigger handle, you know, do this here. It doesn't require that. That's usually what happens when the screws in here are either torn up because somebody used a tapered screwdriver instead of a hollow ground screwdriver. They used a wore out screwdriver bit, or they tried to just torque and mess around. Or one more thing, whenever you've got the screw driver in there, yeah, get it in the slot. You don't lay the screwdriver crooked and try to turn it, okay? You always hold the screwdriver in line with the shaft of the screw. And you know, I know a lot of you that's watching the video know these things, but there are others that don't. There are others that want to learn, and that's why I'm explaining some of these things like this. So I appreciate you watching. I will go ahead real quick and take this other screw out. And there we have it. There we have the potted motor off of a Singer 201 or 15. And to go any further, rewiring or whatever you're doing, put it back together. You don't have to tighten these screws as tight as they were. It don't hurt to do the same thing in reverse that I did with the wrench. Put a little pressure on it, tap it a couple times with a screwdriver, with a brass hammer. That will help to seat those screws good and everything. So when you get into a lot of torque and all, this motor is not able to do this right here. Well, you don't want it doing that. You want the screws tight enough to keep them doing that. Okay, I appreciate it. I thank you for watching. Remember, so purty. the way we say it in Kentucky, not so pretty, not like Medea says it, SoPurdyWorkshops.com. We'd love to have you and appreciate you watching. Thank you.